Hey everybody, this is Dan with Pain Free You. Today I have the pleasure of introducing Kimberly Warner from Oregon. And Kimberly wanted to share her success story. She's very passionate about it with MdDS. And I'll let her define that because I think the term's a little challenging for me to say pronounce correctly. So welcome, Kimberly. Welcome to my community. I think you're going to be able to provide a lot of benefit to people who've got either generic dizziness or have been given the official label of MdDS. So welcome. And why don't you introduce yourself and start telling us a little story.
Story time. Well, yes, my name is Kimberly Warner. I'm really happy to be here, Dan. You do magnificent work and are healing a lot of people. So thank you for that. MdDS is short for mal de débarquement syndrome, and I'm not even pronouncing that correctly. If I were French, I'd say probably something like mal de débarquement or something like that. But it means bad disembarking. Well, let's see, percentage-wise, I think it's about 60 to 70% of people get mal de débarquement upon exiting a boat or a long period of travel. And a lot of people, even you expressed, Dan, you have that period of like, ooh, things are moving under my feet a little bit. It goes away a day or two later, all good.
For an hour or two. Yeah.
For an hour, yeah. And then for those of us that aren't as fortunate, it can go on for periods of time, then it can go into remission, then it can come back. There are about 30% of us where they call it, and it's actually now gotten a new name, and I'm not even going to remember what that is, but it's spontaneous MdDS. And it's more similar to PPPD, triple PD, in the sense that it was triggered by high anxiety, heightened anxiety, panic disorder, trauma, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So I'm in that category where I was, a dancer for most of my life, super balanced, never had any questions about my feet and where they lived under me. And in 2014, I was in a bicycle accident, and what do they call it? I was doored by a door opening, and my bike flew over it and broke my pelvis. Had that whole period of bed rest and the healing. During that period, psychologically, I also found out through a DNA test that my father wasn't my biological father. And this was, so I always say metaphorically, my foundation was cracked, and physically, my foundation was cracked at the same time. As I started to find my feet again, I began to feel a lot of destabilization. And that didn't happen 24/7. It started at first like, ooh, the sidewalk is dropping out underneath me. Or, I feel a little out of body when I get out of bed in the morning. And then the panic, I started to set in more with that. Sure. Ongoing with the continuation of this unfolding story of my biological father and all of that. So I became, classic, just basically nervous breakdown, if you want to call it that. And within about 4 months, I was feeling dizzy 24/7. And it really took me to my knees. I had never felt like that in my body before. Someone that was super confident, always jumping off things and feeling tomboyish and everything that I did. I was a can-do person. And suddenly I needed my husband to hold my hand to walk across the street, if I would even leave the house, which for a long period of time, I wasn't even willing to do that. Never had panic disorder, never felt anxiety, just other than like butterflies, excitement. So this was really new for me. And what did I do? Because I grew up, my father was a heart surgeon, my mother was a psychotherapist. It's like, there's an answer for everything. I grew up in the new age self-help fix-it paradigm. And so I was like, I'm gonna fix this. And so what I did was I just went on a mad hunt to fix myself. And I tried everything, like probably every one of your listeners have tried, in everything from Western to Eastern to psychics. I mean, I was desperate.
Sure.
Calling on deities in the middle of the night that I'd never talked to before, really feeling like my life was over. And I guess the part that, you know, you would resonate with is I was terrified. The
Sure.
terror, you know, I was terrified. So that went on for about 2 years. This was a long period of trying things, not working, feeling disappointed, getting a new lead, trying that, feeling hopeful, not working, getting worse in the process. And then I remember, I mean, this didn't happen overnight, but I did have a family member plant the seed somewhere around year 2. And she said, what if this never went away?
Oh, geez.
And
yeah.
it was what I needed to hear, because it made me get off the fix-it train. It made me think, well, if this never goes away, I can't continue what I'm doing, trying to find answers, because the answers are making me worse. The pursuit of the answers are making me worse.
Exactly.
So what I ended up slowly integrating was like, okay, if this never goes away, how do I live well with this? And that was the opening to very slowly letting my nervous system accept and relax and go, okay, how do I hold this differently? And so yes, that was the beginning. And it took a long time for me to lay a lot of nights laying in bed where, you know, as soon as consciousness would, you know, appear 4 a.m. and I would feel the bed bouncing up and down, I would, instead of going, there it is again, I would just work to hold the experience and relax with the experience. And I actually have a moment where I remember my husband and I were living at the coast at the time. We had sold the place in city living was too much for me. Living in a small town of 700, Oregon, which means sideways wind and rain all winter long. And I heard those branches and the rain batting up against the window at 4 a.m. and I was feeling the dizziness and the bed bouncing up and down and the anxiety. And I had that, you know, what meditation teachers have talked about, the blue sky that is above the storm. And I just went there and I was like, there is blue sky above this storm that's batting up against the window. And in that blue sky, there was stillness, even while all of that was going on. And I found respite for a moment. I found a place where I could relax and allow and breathe. And it didn't matter if the symptoms kept going. It coexisted with that stillness and that blue sky. So that became my exercise. There was a sudden experience of respite. And it was like a muscle that I needed to keep returning to over and over again amidst the dizziness. And this is a subtle thing, but I couldn't, with my mind, be doing it in order for the dizziness to be going away. I couldn't, if I had any ounce of like, I'm going to do that exercise so the dizziness goes away, it doesn't work.
You're still in fixing mode.
Because I'm still in fixing mode. I had to wholly just go, let's just let this be. Let this be.
And you did it because it actually felt good as opposed to seeking an outcome. Because as long as fixing, your brain goes, we still got a problem. Stay high. Yeah, exactly.
It felt loving. I mean, and I hate to get all woo-woo or anything, but it felt like the first time where I could just love myself as I was. Mm-hmm. So that always to me was a turning point. And now here I am, and it depends on the day. I sometimes wake up and it's dizzy and sometimes it's not. Doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't, I could live with this for the rest of my life. I don't care. I actually feel stronger than I've ever felt in my adult life. I feel more compassionate towards myself, more resilient. And it is all attributed to finding a place of peace that can coexist with some of the physical sensations that aren't too awesome, but whatever, it's okay.
Sure.
And sometimes they suck, but it's still okay. I'm not into fixing it anymore. And to me, that is what really, obviously unfixed, is the birth of that came from this experience. So.
Okay. So are you open to some feedback?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Take me to the next level.
Okay. So it's wonderful that you have come to find that respite and that place that you can go to in the midst of a storm to find calm. But even just the way you've told the story is almost setting the expectation that this will be around forever and I can live with that. I don't believe you need to live with it forever, because even that belief, the expectation that, well, let me come to grips with how do I live life if this is forever, says this is going to be forever. And your brain goes, oh shit, this is forever. So, expectations become realities. And so I'm going to really encourage you not to fix, not to get into that struggle to, I got to fix this, because as you said, that can kind of get you even more off balance, but to just open yourself to the possibility that this is still temporary. It's been a long time, but this is still temporary.
How do I do that without engaging the part of my brain that wants it to be temporary? Does that make sense? Because there's still that, like, oh, cool, maybe this isn't, because this, yeah, great, I don't want this forever. That would be fantastic, because it does suck at times. So
I guess what is wrong with the part of your brain engaging in the thought that maybe this can be temporary? Why is that a bad thing? And why are you resisting that belief? Are you afraid to be disappointed?
No, because it doesn't like it, because it's afraid of it. That's the part of my brain that's still afraid of it.
It's afraid of getting rid of the symptom?
No, it's afraid of the symptoms. The part that wants it to go away is the part that's afraid of the symptoms,
That's why I didn't say become obsessed with fixing again. I say be open to the possibility that it can be temporary.
Yeah.
See how I'm framing it? So much of what I teach in my daily videos is there's nothing wrong with you. Go live your life. Like there's nothing to fix. There's nothing to heal. And I don't particularly love that healing word, which is hugely used in the mind body space. We got to heal, heal, heal. I got to heal from my trauma. I got to heal from this. I got to heal from my, PTSD and my emotions and my past. And right. And I'm saying, what exactly are you healing? Healing is when you cut your finger and it miraculously grows back together and the body puts itself back into one. What exactly are we healing in this mind-body space? Fear? I don't think that's healing. I think it's more recovery. It's more teaching. So I view this as a teaching opportunity, not a healing.
I love that. That's an awesome thing.
Not even as a fixing opportunity. It's my core belief, Kimberly, that there's nothing to fix. We're already okay. Our brain and nervous system, and I'll mention it here, you couch this MdDS as a nervous system disorder, which says there is something wrong with my nervous system. By its definition, disorder means something's wrong. And so the perpetuation of the term, even MdDS, as a medical diagnosis, which along with it comes all of the fear and all of the nocebo, the negative expectation that I've got this disorder, just carries with it this perception that I'm sick, I'm broken, I've got something wrong with me. My personal belief is that all of the mind-body stuff, whether you got generic back pain, dizziness, heavy duty vertigo, and I'm sure you've been in and out of that level of dizziness a lot. Reflux, gastrointestinal, IBS, even some autoimmune stuff. I don't believe anything's broken. Your nervous system and brain is working perfectly, Kimberly. Absolutely perfectly. And you're going, this dude's whacked, right? Because of your experience. I get it. But I believe our nervous systems in this mind-body space, people experiencing symptoms, our brain and nervous system is working flawlessly. It's just operating on two things: misinformation and fear. The misinformation is you've got a nervous system disorder. No, you've got, what was it, 8 years of dizziness symptoms that have, like you said, brought you to your knees. I've been really wild, sometimes mild, sometimes wild. But as long as you're couching it as a nervous system disorder and saying, I'm doing much better because I've learned to live with it, you're kind of pushing aside the opportunity for the brain to truly feel safe and turn it off completely. So let me ask you this. Do you have moments or days or weeks where you are not dizzy?
I definitely have days.
Okay.
I'll wake up and it'll be a whole day.
Okay. So
Yes.
playing devil's advocate, what happened to your nervous system disorder on that day? You know,
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
it's not a nervous system disorder. I believe sincerely it all boils down to the brain's perception of danger and safety. And on the days where you feel good, it's just evidence that your brain was in a much safer place. Now, sometimes surrender and acceptance, which is what you've been doing so far, can be a wonderfully safe thing to do, which is likely why you're doing so much better, because you've stopped fighting. And as you were speaking earlier about how you were just finding that respite, gave you just this piece of a place to go. And in my head, it said you stepped out of the fight.
Yeah.
Right. And the thought that came into my head was, it's probably a video title here: as long as you're in the fight, you're going to keep getting punched in the face.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. I love that.
But it's so true. As long as you're fighting your dizziness, it's going to keep on coming back because you are resisting it, you are fearing it. And again, I believe the brain's perception of danger is what turns on the alarm system. Period. End of story. That's all that's going on. I believe your brain and nervous system has just been operating on a boatload of misinformation, which is I've got this neurological disorder and it may be around for the rest of my life. And on top of that, look at all the fear.
Yeah.
You notice, I'm sure, when you go into those fear states, panic states, it's worse.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
so what more evidence do you need?
Yeah.
The brain is creating this based on the perception of danger. And therefore, in my opinion, we don't have to overcomplicate this. Let's teach, not heal, not fix. Let's just teach the brain that we're actually okay, that we don't have a disorder, we don't have a neurological problem. We have a symptom that through fear and attention became learned by your brain. So that it, go ahead. Okay.
What is your, so how, if, let me see if I can articulate this right.
Sure.
How does, if the brain is in fear on autopilot, if it's doing it subconsciously, for, those of us that probably, yes, this happened when I was 40, but I think I've been operating in a freeze state for much of my life. How do we teach our brains when it's really unconscious that this is a fear state in the first place?
So I mean that's a really interesting conversation because we can't directly go into the subconscious and turn the screws and crank them out differently and go, all right, you're out. The only way that we can influence our subconscious, the automatic part of our brain, is through the conscious. And so by changing the story from neurological disorder, I'm accepting that this will be around for the rest of my life. That's the story that your subconscious is operating on. And don't get me wrong, that acceptance is much safer than fight, 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 right? Totally.
Yeah.
Which is why you're doing so much better and you're regaining your life and have days where you've got no symptoms. So that's all wonderful. But, you know, I did a video 2-3 weeks ago. I forget exactly the date, but it's called Safety is Created Proactively. It doesn't just happen.
Wow.
Right? What that means is if we sit around and wait for things to lift, for a brain to feel safe, it's not going to likely happen. We have to actually create safety proactively. And so that, you know, I've got what I call the foundational four, which are, in my opinion, the four pillars of what it takes so that you can recover. It's almost like without these four, it's going to be really tough to move forward. Because if you're just going to walk around all day saying, I'm safe, I'm safe, I'm safe, while you're dizzy and in a panic, your brain is going to go, sure you are, right.
Yeah. Full.
Okay, exactly.
Yeah.
So the foundation for you and anybody who's listening is know what's causing the symptoms. Clarity. I don't believe it's a neurological disorder. I believe it's a brain perceiving danger. You had some dizziness, the fear and the anxiety. And as you said, you've been in that fight or freeze state for a long time. So your brain was kind of primed to go, uh-oh, what the heck? And then as it persisted, it was like, oh no, oh no, oh no. And then we jump on the internet and what's going on and how do I figure this out? You know, you got medical professionals in your family. And so now all of a sudden you start going down the medical route. Then you start being given labels like MdDS, and it's a neurological disorder. And we don't know what causes it. We don't know what cures it. And it happens to, I mean, you knew all the percentages of people who got off a boat and had it. And, you know, so you very quickly became what I call medicalized. And medicalized is basically traumatized by the medical system that has not found an answer for you.
Yeah.
But they have given you an awful lot of what's wrong with you statements. Right.
Absolutely.
And so it's extremely easy to see how this first initial uh-oh, followed by research and panic and worry and medicalization and failed treatments and fix it, I'm getting worse, this isn't working. It's very easy to see how quickly the brain just latches onto the fact that, holy crap, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
And if any of this is triggering to you, I don't want it to be.
No, it's not. Fortunately, it would have been 5 years ago, but not now. No.
Yeah. So I really want you to understand that the starting point, number one, is to figure out what's going on. Because as long as you believe this is some mysterious neurological disease that you've got no control over, no influence over, and you'll have it for the rest of your life, you're not off the starting gate as far as truly making this a temporary thing that will go away completely. And my evidence for it going away completely is if you can have not a pain-free, but a symptom-free day, you don't have a neurological disorder. That doesn't take a vacation.
Yeah.
So open yourself to that possibility, which is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to say, holy cow, I'm really okay. So that was number one. What's causing the symptoms? A brain that is perceiving danger. And I think before we got on the phone, you even used the word terrified. At your experience, at the nocebos that you received from the medical community, and even from the MdDS community online. You know, you get into any of these support groups and everybody's sharing their horror stories, the worst case scenarios. And so I say those are bad neighborhoods and we really want to stay out of them. Just like we would if we were in a city that we didn't know. Stay out of the bad neighborhoods. Nothing good happens there. So that's number one. You got to get off the starting point as to what's actually going on here. And I don't think you're sick. I don't think you've got any physical structural problems. So let that sink in. Now, the good news is you'll have a recording of this. So this is turning into a little bit more of a coaching session than a success story, but that's wonderful.
I love it.
Because
Yeah.
I'm sure the audience will love to get both.
Mm-hmm.
Not only the benefit that you got by finding your respite. I love that phrase. Finding respite was your ability to go, despite the storm, I'm okay. And I love the blue sky above this storm, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the second thing that I'm going to encourage you to see if you can embrace is, well, we know what's causing it now. The second thing is, does this apply to me? Does this perceived danger creating symptoms apply to me? Or do I still have this neurological disorder that's medically labeled, MdDS?
Mm.
Making that decision is really key, pivotal to move forward. Because as long as you're going to keep on calling it MdDS and it's a neurological disorder and it'll probably be around forever, so I'm learning to live with it,
Mm-hmm.
brain's going to believe that story. So deciding, I know what it is and I know it applies to me, pivotal to getting started. And for anybody else, doesn't matter what your symptoms are. Could be, generic back pain that Sarna wrote about 50 years ago. Knowing what's causing it and knowing that that applies to you is important. Third, knowing that there's a cure. And there is.
Mm.
How do I know? You have symptoms where days where you're not symptomatic.
Yeah.
So if you can have a symptom-free day, there's no reason you can't have symptom-free life. Seriously.
Yeah. My brain knows how to do it.
The wiring is there for a symptom-free day.
Yep.
The key is to just know what's going on, know it applies to you, know that there's a solution. And the fourth, also pivotal, is know that you have what it takes to do this.
Mm.
Because, how do I teach my brain this without, I think you became afraid of the teaching process. Like,
Yeah, or just like, oh, what if the trauma is from when I was born, and the stories of like, oh, what if I can't? What if that freeze state was so old that it doesn't even know how to heal? That kind of stuff starts to.
no, I get it, but none of that is based on fact. None of that is based on how this system called the human body, brain, nervous system, vestibular system, none of that is relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Because you had 40 years before this hit without a problem. So how could it possibly be the old traumas that are the issue? That's a story you're telling yourself that is.
Well, I did have I was diagnosed with the Graves' disease when I was 21. So I'll just to be factual, there was some stuff happening in my system early on that was a reaction to probably a dysregulated nervous system. So
Right.
yeah.
But even that dysregulated nervous system is a fancy medical scary term for somebody who's been in fight or flight for a while and their brain and nervous system is cranked up.
Yeah.
I still don't think a dysregulated nervous system that you experienced back then meant your nervous system was messed up. It was just turned up, highly alert, right? We
Yes.
get into this high alert status. That doesn't mean it's broken. It means it's working exceptionally well, but it's operating on fear.
Okay.
And oftentimes the fear is based on misinformation. So now there are legitimate medical issues, Graves' disease being one, but it's very likely that, as you said, the high state of stress caused the two things that high states of stress cause is suppression of digestion, suppression of immune system. It's just a well-known fact that if your brain is in the mode where it's saying, there's a tiger in the room with us and it looks really hungry, your brain is going to go into fight or flight, adrenaline, cortisol, eyes dilate to take in more information, breathing goes up, heart rate goes up, blood pressure goes up to push all this oxygenated blood into the arms and legs so you can fight or flee. You know what it doesn't need to do? Digest lunch or fight the common cold. So those things are temporarily suppressed. But if we are in the continual fight or flight through much of our life, things like autoimmune can take hold. Doesn't mean you're sick. It just means that you're not fighting back on typical things as well. And these conditions that are labeled autoimmune can take hold. Now, are they literally an autoimmune thing? Yeah. But if you're trying to solve it with a traditional medical approach of treat symptom, you're missing the fact that, wow, we could really benefit by getting a little bit more respite in our life,
Yeah.
pulling
Yeah.
ourselves out of the fight or flight more often. And how do we do that? Safety.
Safety. Yeah.
Because
And this,
you're
and
not,
I didn't feel that safety when I was 21 and diagnosed with Graves. I didn't feel that safety and the necessity of that safety until the dizziness happened. I was able to kind of, brush off the Graves' disease, let the symptoms rise and come and go and whatever, but it didn't have that same urgency of, so I was able to stay kind of hyper vigilant even with the Graves' disease, it didn't come crashing down until 20 years later. Yeah.
so safety is a solution. So if perceived danger is the problem, let's cut out all of the need for trauma work, meditation, breath work, journaling, tapping.
That doesn't work for me.
and like all of those extraneous things, which by themselves might be nice practices for general wellness. But if you're trying to fix with tapping and breathing and meditation, trying to be your inner monk and Zen, and the only impression your brain can have, which is why those things made you worse, is every time you do fix activities, your brain's going, holy cow, Kimberly, look at all the weird stuff you're doing. There must be a really big problem. Let's stay vigilant.
Yeah.
And the brain stays there. And the more you do it, and the more it doesn't work, and the more you panic, it's like, holy crap, I had my hopes up, it didn't work. Oh no, what now? What happens to your perception of danger?
Yeah.
Really in trouble because I tried these 16 things and it didn't work. And the
This
fear.
is what I love about your work so much, because I've heard you talk about that before, and this is not talked about enough, because I know I'm not the only one that has that sort of wiring where the more we meditate, the more breathing exercises, the more we journal, the worse it gets. And that, I don't think that's true for everybody. I think for some, it's just like, cool, yeah, I'm going to integrate this into my life and it's great. But for the wiring, for me, it was the only intervention that really helped, even though she's a Buddhist meditation teacher, is that Pema Chodron's book, The Wisdom of No Escape. And that title was an awesome intervention when I was 21, because I was like, wait a minute, no escape from this. Okay, but it did enough. It started, that little pause in me of like, wait, maybe if I stopped resisting, then I could just breathe a little bit more. So I just had to interrupt, because your work is unique in that sense, because I never heard somebody talk about how breath work and meditation could be not awesome for some of us.
It's not a negative thing. It's just that if you're spending 2 hours a day doing all those practices, your brain has no choice but to say something's really wrong.
Go play in the woods and, do some somersaults or something. That probably would have been a better therapy for me.
What's interesting is that book title. Tell me it again.
The Wisdom of No Escape.
Okay. So that's exactly where you still are, by this acknowledgement that I may have this for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So that's a belief system that I'm going to encourage you not to challenge, not to fight, not to fix, but to allow the possibility that this doesn't have to be here.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so important. Now, one thing I will just share with you and the audience is this. Great quote that I mentioned in a video a few weeks ago. Nature needs no help, just no interference. So you said, maybe if I stop resisting, which is essentially interference, as long as you're fighting and resisting what's going on, that's interference to your brain and body knowing exactly how to care for you. Core belief of mine: health, wellness is our natural state. We become unwell through interference. Now, the interference could take on a myriad of ways, but in many cases, the fear, the stress, the misinformation, the medicalization, the belief that you're broken, the need to fix, it's not working, and the thought process that goes along with all of that, that's a huge interference to your brain and nervous system going, we're okay. And you've gotten there plenty of time since you found this respite. That respite allowed your brain to go, holy shit, she's okay. Awesome. And you've had some pretty damn good days.
Yeah.
Which is proof. Hopefully all the proof you need to embrace the fact that, well, if I can do that for a day or many days, I think you said, then that's my natural state. And the only time I get symptomatic is when thoughts, fears, stress, life events starts to interfere with your natural state. The symptom-free day is not a fluke. It's your natural state.
Yeah.
And that's a wonderful thought, isn't it?
Yeah. Nature needs no help, just no interference. I love that. So I mean, it's like a river that is flowing freely. It will find its way around rocks, but if there's a dam there, the resistance of a dam is pretty powerful, and nature will still find a way, but it's gonna get a little bit frustrated in the process.
Yeah, but most dams have outlets to let some water through. Otherwise, they would just flood the surrounding area, which they do oftentimes. They'll build a dam on a river to create a lake. Okay, but they still have outflow gates to let water out, because if they didn't and it was purely just blocked, it would overflow the dam.
Yeah.
So, interesting thought, interesting analogy.
Yeah.
I really believe that your brain and nervous system knows exactly what to do to keep you well. Brain and nervous system's primary job is safety and survival. So there's a lot of people who are like, Dan, I just don't have any joy in my life. I'm sure you felt that at certain points in this journey. Look at the priority list. Safety, survival. Where's happiness on that list? Nowhere on the list.
Nowhere. Yeah.
Your brain's going, you want me to be happy? We got to survive. We got this neurological disorder that's going to be here forever. And you want me to be happy? The brain's going, nope. So is some of this stuff helpful for you?
Yes. I absolutely. It's exciting. It's helpful and exciting. What is an alternative to the mantra, I am safe? When you're having a moment, like, life will certainly throw curveballs, and that's life. In those moments, for myself or anyone that's listening, and knowing that going to, like, okay, I'm safe, breathe, it's going to be all right, everything, is just an activation of what do we do instead in those moments?
And I often do say, I probably even have a video that says, saying I'm safe is not enough.
Yeah.
Because saying I'm safe from a place of fear and terror doesn't convince the brain of anything. It's like the horror movie that you see, and like somebody's down in the basement and all of a sudden the lights go off and you hear footsteps upstairs, and they're down in the basement going, this is not happening. This is not happening. This is not happening. Right. And we all know those stupid, B-movie horror movies that we watched as a kid, and sitting there saying this is not happening doesn't change it. Right. So what do we do? Well, safety takes on a number of cases. So let's say you got the foundation for, I know what's causing it. This applies to me. There is a solution and I'm capable of it, which is one of the harder ones of the four, because people are like, yeah, but I'm too nervous, my past traumas, and been in fight or flight for all these years. And I did have a real, autoimmune disorder 20 something years ago. And next thing you know, it's like, you're kind of convincing yourself that, well, I don't know if this is going to work for me, because story. So did a video, I think yesterday or today, just observe your stories. What stories are you telling yourself? And some of your stories are, I'm doing so much better. I'm so excited about this work. I found my respite. It brought me down. I'm having better days. I'm having symptom-free days. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. But undercurrent is I have a neurological disorder and this may be for the rest of my life. Change that story, you may change the outcome. Because the days that you have no symptoms, you're not telling yourself that story. You're waking up going, hey, feel pretty good. What do I want to do today? Let's go live life. Let's go do something interesting. Let's go do something fun. Or even just the compelling project that you're working on now, unfixed, where you want to spread the word to the MdDS community. Wonderful. When you're doing that, you're probably less concerned about your own symptoms because you're trying to refine the message, get the word out, figure out the best way to do that. So how do we do it? After the Foundation 4, I have a variety of different ways that we want to teach the brain safety. Nowhere in there does it say walk around with a mantra that says, I'm safe, I'm safe, I'm safe, I'm safe, right? But I think we experience the world in several key ways: emotionally, physically, mentally, and many of us spiritually, right? So if that's how we experience the world, we go through lives experiencing the world at minimum, even if you're not very spiritual, emotionally, physically, mentally. So if that's how we experience life, whether you're 1 year old or 90 years old, you're experiencing life emotionally, physically, mentally. If we can feel safer in those areas, doesn't it stand to reason that our brain's perception of safety is going to increase and the perception of danger is going to decrease? Right? So how do we feel safer emotionally? And this is a full-blown coaching session you're getting here. How do we feel safe emotionally? By allowing ourselves to feel the emotions without judgment. How many people were raised by a family or friends or whatever that says, oh, don't let them see you cry. Toughen up. Keep a stiff upper lip. Don't be a big baby. Don't you dare get angry at me. I'll give you something to be angry about, right? And all those things that we have been told that emotions are bad, lock them up, right? So how do we feel better emotionally? Not feel better, but how do we convince our subconscious brain that emotions are safe and thereby are not put in that list of perceived dangers and thereby not creating symptoms? Well, the best way to teach the brain that emotions are safe is to actually feel them without judging ourselves harshly. So if you're pissed off, be pissed off, but don't judge yourself for it, because oftentimes if you're pissed off, there's a good reason for it. It's justified. And you're not a bad person or out of control or crazy. You're a normal human being. Welcome to the range of human emotions. If you're sad, allow yourself to be sad. Without judgment is the key. Because if you go, oh, I'm so angry, but I really shouldn't be, which is a common phrase, I'm so angry, but I shouldn't be. That's resistance, isn't it? To the emotion, which is teaching the brain that these emotions are safe, are dangerous, excuse me. So look, there's 3 responses to emotions. We can lock them up. We can, sorry, my phone just distracted me. I'm shutting it off. Okay, so we can lock them up, push them away, subconscious, go away emotions. I don't like you. You're not safe. In which case, do they go away? They accumulate, right? They just build up. The alternative is to express our emotions with the people around us. Well, sometimes that doesn't go so well, does it? There's social consequences to telling your boss that you think they're a jerk, right? Or your spouse, for that example, for another example. So we're like, all right, so every time I express my emotions to the people around me and I tell them that I'm pissed off or hurt by them, it doesn't go well. So I guess I better lock them up. And as a result of both, you're saying emotions are bad, emotions are dangerous, emotions cause trouble, social chaos, and everything else. There's a third choice, which is to actually, in the privacy of your head, your heart, your home, to actually feel the emotions. You can do that in the bathroom if you don't want to have emote in front of the people that you're with at the time. Go to the bathroom. Cry, make angry faces, whatever. Allow yourself to experience it, but don't judge yourself harshly. And the second point of the feeling the emotions is don't ruminate on the story behind the emotion in the first place.
Right? That's a good one. That's a really important one.
Because, and I literally have a video topic that says rumination, the thought emotion loop. Probably going to record that today, because every time you're ruminating, those thoughts are creating the emotions. And then the emotions are feeding the thoughts. And then you kind of get stuck in this thought emotion loop. And it's called rumination.
And rumination is probably just another form of the brain being fearful. It's like, oh, I got to figure this out. I got to figure this out. I got to figure this out so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so without rumination, feel the emotions. After a while, if you're not creating social chaos by blowing up at people, but you're also not shoving the emotions in the closet, eventually your brain's going to go, wow, these emotions that I've been protecting her from, I don't need to because they're safe. Brain's going to go, wow, look at all that stuff. She's been feeling all these really intense emotions and nothing bad happened. I no longer need to turn on the alarm system called symptoms when you get emotional. But it's also based on the story, because there's a lot of people I talk to who are like, every time I get emotional, I get symptoms. So how do I stop being emotional? You don't have to stop being emotional. What we want to do is change the story, change the expectation. We can literally teach the brain that emotions don't require symptoms. Right? So the other,
wow, that's awesome.
But that's true.
Yeah.
I have other people message me, go, well, Dan, my life is stressful. How am I supposed to get better? Teach the brain that you don't have to have symptoms because you're stressed out. Trust me, in this business that I'm in, I'm really stressed. At least once a month, I have somebody go, Dan, I don't want to be on this planet. Please help. And I've never spoken to the person before. And it's just some person that I don't know from some part of the world. And they're just going, I'm at my end of the rope. Talk about stress. And usually I'll see those at like 6 a.m, because those people are usually writing the emails at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
So, but I don't hurt. I don't have symptoms. There's no need for chronic symptoms. So stress is not the problem. Emotions are not the problem. It's that they were perceived that way by a subconscious brain, but we can change that perception with the truth, with safety. So emotions, we covered that. Feel them without judgment, without rumination, which is hard to do, but it's doable, because when you start ruminating, we'll get to that about when we get to the mental state. Okay, second step is physical. Well, when you found your respite, what did you do? You laid down, you relaxed your body. You didn't do breath work, but by relaxing your body, your breath kind of slowed down and got to a natural pace because you were focused on the blue sky above the clouds of the storm. As a result, your brain said, look at Kimberly. She's relaxed. She's laying. She's thinking about a blue sky. She's not in the middle of the storm fighting it. The brain perceived safety in those moments, which is why that respite felt so damn good for you. Because you kind of got out of the thought whirlwind.
Yeah.
You got out of the storm. You found the respite, the blue sky above, and the brain was like, her body's relaxed. She's not all tense and tight. She started to relax a bit. So that's a way to get directly to the subconscious. Having a tough day, relax the body. That's not fixing. That's just teaching the brain, hey, I'm okay. Well, I'm relaxed. And when you relax your body, you will breathe much more naturally. Now, a few years ago, I used to say, hey, if you're all stressed out and you're hurting, just breathe. And it's like, no, because that's the whole breath work. I'm fixing myself, which I don't believe is the best way. But if we can relax our body, our breath will take on a natural pace And the brain has no choice but to go, hey, Kimberly's good. Look, she's relaxed, she's breathing. Right. So that leads us to the mental state. Mental state is what? Thinking. Right. So I think there's 3 general beliefs about thinking. I need to stop my negative thoughts or I'll never get better. You ever go there?
Yes.
I have to stop these negative thoughts.
Force positive thinking.
Yeah. I have to stop these negative thoughts. Well, first of all, you can't. And when you can't and you don't achieve that, the only thing you're going to think is, now I'm really messed up. I must be crazy because I can't stop this negative thought train. And a lot of people are like, okay, well, if I can't stop them, let me fix them. So now I'm going to like reframe and create it positive and release that to the rainbows and unicorns, and everything will be wonderful because I have to now fix every single negative thought and make it positive. And, you know, I joke that we end up in a place where we think we've got a thinking problem. So we're going to fix our thinking problem with more thinking about our thinking problem.
Oh, it hurts.
Because we think if we fix the thinking problem with more thinking about thinking, we're going to have no more thinking problem. And you're laughing because you see how ridiculous it is, but that's exactly what we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So what's the answer? Finding respite. I don't have to fix this.
Yeah. Let it be.
I don't have to engage in this problem. I don't have to fix the thinking. But when you found your respite, you got to a place where you didn't have to believe the negative thoughts that created the storm in the first place. You rose above to the blue sky, above the clouds of the storm. So my simple answer is, you can't stop your negative thoughts. You don't have to fix them because that would be exhausting. You know, we have 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. If you tried to fix all your negative ones, you know how exhausting that'd be. You'd be passed out by 8:30 in the morning, right? So the answer to me is, we don't have to believe our own negative thinking. It's just a scared brain saying, watch out, do this, be careful. Oh no, what if we go here and we get dizzy while we're at the grocery store? Oh no, right? We don't have to buy into or take seriously the thoughts that are coming out of a scared brain that's just doing its best to keep us safe by saying, watch out, don't do this, don't do that. So as we learn and practice not taking our own thoughts so seriously, things can get better. Because so much of this, and please tell me if I'm wrong, but so much of this entire world that you've experienced has been fueled by thinking and believing the negative thoughts.
Yeah. And taking them seriously and then trying to fix them and trying to replace them with positive thinking and
right. But that all comes down to this belief that says, I got a problem.
Yeah.
Didn't I say early on that my core belief is that we're already okay?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with you. So starting from that, doing all this fixing activities, hours a day worth of research, practices, all these different things that we do. The thing I like to joke about is, how much time would you spend in the garage rebuilding the engine on a brand new car that's working perfectly? You wouldn't. Most likely you'd just end up mucking it up.
Yeah, you should just go for a joyride in it. Roll down the windows and enjoy the breeze.
Same thing holds true. You know, a lot of people are like, Dan, what's your, daily routine to keep TMS at bay or mind body at bay so you don't get, symptoms again? What's my daily process? I don't have one. When you know deeply that you're okay, you don't need a practice to keep you okay. You're already okay. So there's other things that we can do to reinforce the brain's belief that we're safe. Spiritually, I'm not going to get into that. That's very unique for everybody. But if you have a spiritual practice that brings you strength, wonderful. If you don't, wonderful, not necessary. So
I resonate with this so much. It's awesome. It's just so refreshing. I'm absolutely delighted that you have come to these realizations and you can articulate them, because it's 100% valuable to me. And I know that they're valuable to others out there. So
I have two more things to share
okay.
about teaching the brain safety.
Mm-hmm.
How we respond to symptoms either screams danger or says, nope, I'm okay.
Yep.
Because if you have a colorful day and you respond with panic, freak out, fear, oh no, it's back. I just had a couple of good days, and oh no, holy shit, what did I do wrong? I better figure that out so I can fix it.
Yeah.
If we respond that way, we're basically confirming the brain's perception that something dangerous is happening. But if we can respond to an onset of symptoms, whether it be a real hard onset or a gentle one that's creeping up, if we can respond to go, I know what that is. I'm not concerned. The brain must be perceiving something as dangerous. Well, I did just have a fight with my mother-in-law, so that might have been perceived as a danger by my brain and got me a little off balance. Okay. So not a big deal. I know what it is. I'm calling it out for exactly what it is. I know it applies to me, right?
Yeah. No
So
big deal.
I know that the best way out of that is to not react harshly to the onset of symptoms and just kind of be like, no, brain, we're good. We got this. So instead of I'm safe, we can actually use more words. Just what I was doing.
Yeah.
Well, I know what causes symptoms. It's the brain perceiving danger. And it's highly likely that if I have some symptoms right now and they've started climbing, it's because the brain's perceiving something as dangerous. So you know what? And these are thoughts you can have to yourself. You can even speak it out loud. So what I'm going to do is remind myself and my scared brain that this thing it's perceiving as dangerous is not really. I'm just going out to the grocery store and there's no need to give me symptoms so I can stay home and be safe. Right. And I'm using that as an example because I'm sure many people with dizziness are like, they get dizzy before they go out of the house and then they stay home to stay safe because they don't want it to get worse. And so if you want to teach your brain safety, respond, accurate knowledge that this is exactly what's going on. And if the brain's perceiving danger, the best solution is, how can I show my brain that I'm safe? Well, it's not just what we say, but it's also what we do. So if you just go run and lay in bed and go, don't move, don't move, don't move, let's wait till things settle down, you're just confirming the brain's belief that there's something bad happening.
Absolutely.
As opposed to, well, I'm a little wobbly, but been there before. I'll be okay. I'm not concerned, brain, so show little to no concern. And then continue on doing the things that you had planned to do anyway. Because sometimes actions speak way louder than words.
Yep.
I have a phrase that I say, you need to be willing to experience your symptoms to get rid of them. Because avoidance only confirms the brain's perception that there's trouble.
That's another zinger. Wow, that's such a good one.
Yeah, you have to be willing to experience it in order to get better. And look, I'm working with some people who've been bedridden for years. Bedridden. They bought a bicycle, and this was a lady with pelvic pain.
Wow.
Driving a car for the first time in 7 years. Just bought a car, going for little jogs around the neighborhood. Bedridden for 3 years. Down to 3 foods. Now eating a full menu of whatever she wants. How? Safety, period.
Yep.
And these are all the different ways. So how you respond to symptoms will either scream, holy crap, I'm still in trouble, or, no, I got this. I'm good. I use the term indifference, which is kind of this.
Yeah. Indifference.
So what? Like, all right, so I'm a little wobbly today. So what? And then you move on with your day and try not to give it a second thought, because the second thought turns into a third and a fifth and 100th. And before you know it, you're spiraling in the, oh my God, what am I doing wrong? How come I'm feeling the symptoms? Well, when you're doing that, you're actually pouring gasoline on the fire and going, why isn't it going out? Because you're fueling it with all the extra secondary fears, which is all our thinking. And if the thinking's going like this, what happens to the emotions?
Yeah.
Which is that whole, rumination, thought emotion loop. So if you don't believe your thoughts, you don't take them seriously, and you just kind of respond calmly to your symptoms and then kind of re-engage with life, that's an awful lot of safety, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
To be honest with you, when you combine those very simple things, feel your emotions, relax your body, don't take your thoughts seriously, respond as calmly as you can to the symptoms, and re-engage in life, that's not a lot. It's not homework. It's just a general mindset. When you do that consistently, your brain's got no choice but to go, holy crap, we're not in trouble at all, are we?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be complicated for it to work.
Yeah. And the added bonus when you do all that is you're probably going about your day and you're actually enjoying life again, which, is awesome. Flooding your body with all those good feelings too. So it has a reinforcing effect, I would imagine.
Yep. So this success story turned out actually very interesting because it is absolutely a success story, because you've taken something that has been with you for a long while and has really dominated your thoughts for a long while, and it's now turning into a passion with your unfixed project that you're doing. For anybody who doesn't know, Kimberly is a videographer, documentary style type of person, and she's engaging in some projects to take what she's learned and share it and give people with this medical diagnosis of MdDS some hope.
Well, actually, all chronic illnesses. It's unfixed is for all. Yeah, all
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So absolute success, because you are having symptom-free days and you got out of the sheer panic to a place of, I'm actually okay.
Yeah.
And it's taking the intellectual knowledge and creating a deep knowing that I think is most critical to making this stuff stick. Because it's easy to have a good day, but if you have a rough day the next day and we just jump right back into, oh no, I did something wrong, better start thinking about what I did to get the good day and how do I replicate that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oftentimes the good days are when we're not really paying attention to it.
Yep.
That's a hint.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions? Do you have anything else you'd like to share for the viewers?
I don't, and just because everything you shared it resonates so deeply. I just was one thing that occurred to me. My husband's daughter, she's 28 and she has pretty severe intellectual disability, and I share that only because that girl is a rock. She is so invincible to anything that ever, colds, flus, scrapes, breaks, everything is just like, to mirror what you've been sharing, she doesn't have the stories that accompany these physical experiences. They're just like, oops, that happened, and then she's on to the next thing. And her ability to heal is so fast and so powerful. And we always just look at her like she's just this, she's resilient in a really powerful way. And I think part of that is because the intellect doesn't get in there and mess with things.
Yeah.
So beautiful to watch and observe, and for us to learn from.
Yeah. And what you'll realize is that this entire thing is a learning opportunity. We're not fixing, we're learning.
Yeah.
And every experience we have is a lesson to learn more. And so if you have a colorful day, what can I learn from this? How can I respond a little more confidently, positively, calmly,
Gently,
reassuringly, gently? Let me find my respite, give myself that place of safety. But walking around the house, I'm safe is not the answer. You know that, which is why you had that question, which led to, a good opportunity for me to kind of share the practices.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you sharing that. I didn't mean to get a free coaching session out of this.
Quite right. I have a great piece of content that
yes, please share.
will be wonderful for the audience. Yeah, it's my pleasure. And that's just me.
Really.
I'm like, if I can help, I'm not gonna just like get the success and like, all right, thanks. Nice talking to you. See ya.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, because maybe there'll be a part two where you go, holy shit, it's gone. And I haven't had it for 6 months. As
Yeah.
opposed to I'm learning to live with this for the rest of my life, but I'm
Mhm.
in a better place than I was.
Mm.
A better place than you were is absolutely a success, which is why I have no hesitation of sharing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
I know with my heart, my soul, my intellect that this is temporary for you. And telling yourself that story consistently, not fixing, but just opening yourself up to the possibility of like, wow, I don't really need to believe that there's no way to get better.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're
Thank
awesome.
you.
Thank you for being open to a little bit of coaching here. It's been a
Absolutely. Share it. Give it to the world. So there are some gems in here for people to hear. So I'm happy to be the
the
person that,
conduit.
yeah.
The conduit.
Yeah. Yeah. The
You asked
conduit.
some great questions that led to it. So
Good.
really, I appreciate you. It's been a pleasure. We'll wrap this one up. I'll hit the stop on the recording. And thank you so much, Kimberly. Keep me posted. Drop me a
I
message
will.
from time to time.
Okay. I will, Dan. I will. All right. Take care.